The Galactic War Academy was the pride of the galaxy. Its training halls were huge, bright, and filled with the most advanced technology known to any species. Today, in the main White Hall, rows of alien officers sat in neat formation. They were here for a special guest lecture, something rare in the Academy. At the front stood Commander Elias Kane, a human war strategist from Earth. He was tall, with short dark hair and eyes that seemed to see straight through people. The air felt heavy as he walked to the center of the stage. Around the hall, alien whispers filled the space. Why bring a human here? They are too aggressive, too reckless. Primitive tactics, old-fashioned. A four-armed reptilian. Cadet snorted quietly. A tall insectoid officer leaned to his friend and muttered, "What can he teach us about war? We've fought for centuries." Kane didn't react. He simply looked at them, one by one, as if memorizing their faces. When the whispers finally died down, he spoke. "War is not about honor," Kane began in a calm voice. "It is not about showing off. War is about ending your enemy's ability to fight as quickly as possible." He pressed a button on a small black device in his hand. The walls around them changed instantly, becoming giant hollow screens. Silent, high-definition images appeared, fleets of dark, sharp-edged ships moving through space. No sound, no music, just cold, silent visuals. The footage showed human warships engaging enemy vessels. There were no flashy maneuvers, no drawn-out battles. It was brutal, fast, and precise. Ships exploded in seconds. Enemy fleets vanished within minutes. Some alien cadets shifted uncomfortably in their seats. A few looked impressed. Others looked disgusted. Then, in the front row, a young aquatic cadet with silver skin laughed nervously. "That's just luck," he said. "No enemy falls that fast in reality." The room went still. Kane's eyes locked on the cadet. "Luck?" His voice was quiet, but sharp. He tapped the device again. The hollow footage replayed, this time with data overlays. Names, crew counts, fleet compositions. And one detail that made every alien's chest tighten. The enemy fleet in the video belonged to the cadet's own species. "That wasn't real war," Kane said, his tone colder now. "That was a simulation against your fleet. Your best tactics, your best ships." And it lasted 37 seconds. The alien cadet's gills fluttered. No one laughed now. Kane walked slowly down the steps from the stage, his boots echoing in the quiet hall. He stopped in front of the first row, his gaze moving from face to face. "Your enemies are not bound by your rules. They don't care about your traditions, your formations, your idea of fair. They will strike where you are weakest. They will break you before you even know you are in danger. If you want to survive a real war." He let the silence stretch until it became almost painful. "Forget what you know and do exactly what I say." For a moment, no one moved. The alien officers looked at each other, unsure whether to feel insulted or terrified. Kane pressed another button. The hollow screens now showed something even more disturbing. Real battle recordings from the human defense fleet. In one, a single human ship lured 3 enemy destroyers into an asteroid field and wiped them out without firing a single main cannon. In another, human marines boarded a heavily guarded enemy station, and the fight ended in less than 4 minutes. Every action was cold, calculated, and utterly ruthless. One insectoid officer whispered, "This isn't war. This is extermination." Kane heard him and answered without turning his head, "No, this is survival." He returned to the center of the stage. "If you fight the way you've been taught here, you will lose. If you fight the human way, you might live long enough to win." The air in the hall felt heavier now. The alien cadets, once skeptical, now leaned forward in their seats, watching every move, every word. Kane's next words were slow, deliberate, and chilling. Today, I will teach you how to win wars you should never have survived. And if you fail to learn, you won't even see your death coming. The lights dimmed. The screens flared to life with tactical maps, red and blue markers dancing across space. The lesson had begun, and no one in the room doubted it would be unlike anything they had ever seen before. The alien cadets stared at the human commander. Some looked insulted, others looked curious. Kane walked slowly between the rows of seats, his boots echoing in the hall. His eyes scanned every face. "You've been taught," he said, "that wars are won by numbers, technology, and honor." He stopped, turning toward a tall insectoid cadet. "Tell me, Cadet Rix, how would you defeat an enemy fleet twice your size?" Rix stood straight. "By forming a defensive line and calling for reinforcements. It is the honorable way." Kane smirked. "The honorable way will get you and everyone under your command killed." A murmur of shock spread through the room. One reptilian cadet hissed. Another banged a fist on the desk. Humans have no honor in war. Kane didn't react. Instead, he pressed a button. On the console, a new hollow image appeared. A battlefield in deep space, littered with burning ships. "This," Kane said, "is what honor gives you." The footage zoomed in on a massive alien battleship. Its captain had refused to retreat, fighting until his vessel exploded. "Bravery," Kane said, "is useless if you are dead. War is not a game, it's survival. If you want to live, you must stop thinking like soldiers and start thinking like predators." The alien cadets shifted uneasily. Predators? The word carried danger. Kane walked to the center of the room again. "First lesson," he said, "you do not fight fair. You fight to win." He tapped another command. The next simulation began, a small human fleet appearing out of nowhere, striking without warning, and vanishing before the enemy could respond. One cadet raised a hand. "How did you appear so suddenly? No fleet can travel that fast." Kane's lips curled into a faint smile. "That," he said, "is something you will learn. If you survive this course." The tension in the room thickened. The cadets no longer whispered. They were listening, but Kane knew most of them still didn't believe him. That was fine. Soon they would see for themselves. Tomorrow, Kane said, "You will join me in the war simulator. And when it ends, some of you will wish you'd never met me." He left the hall without another word. The alien cadets exchanged uneasy glances. They didn't know it yet, but their real education was about to begin. The next day, the alien cadets gathered on the Academy's largest training field, a massive open dome filled with simulated landscapes. Today, Kane would test them. The simulation began. Enemy drones appeared in the sky, their metallic wings cutting through the air. The alien cadets immediately spread out, forming defensive lines like they had been taught since childhood. Kane didn't move. He stood at the center, arms crossed, watching them scramble. Within minutes, the enemy drones broke through their formation. Half the cadets were eliminated in the simulation. The rest were retreating, panicked. Kane's voice cut through the chaos. "Wrong, all of it." The cadets froze. One of them, a tall insectoid named Zarek, protested. "We followed standard doctrine. Standard doctrine will get you killed." Kane snapped. "You fight in straight lines. You think in straight lines. War doesn't move in straight lines." He walked toward a control console and reset the simulation. "This time, you move like us. Follow my orders exactly. No questions." The cadets hesitated, but the fear of another failure made them obey. Kane's orders were strange. Scatter, disappear, use the terrain. Don't attack yet. The enemy drones swarmed in again. But this time, they couldn't find the cadets. Kane had positioned them behind hills, inside craters, and in deep shadows. When he finally gave the order to attack, the cadets struck from every direction at once. The drones were destroyed in less than 30 seconds. The alien cadets stared at the results in disbelief. One whispered, That's not how wars are fought." Kane gave a thin smile. "It is when you want to win." But as they left the training dome, Kane's expression darkened. This was only the first lesson. The real war, the one none of them were ready for, was coming faster than they knew. 2 days later, before the next drill, the Academy's war sirens began to howl. The sound was low at first, then rose into a deep vibrating roar that shook the walls. Every cadet froze. Sirens like this meant only one thing. An enemy fleet was on the move. Kane was already awake, standing in the command observation room. When the cadets arrived, on the massive holographic map, red icons were blooming across the outer edges of the sector. They weren't just moving in, they were moving fast. The alien instructors whispered nervously. One of them, Commander Thavris, muttered, "It's impossible. They're weeks ahead of schedule." Kane didn't take his eyes off the map. "No, they're exactly on schedule. You just thought they'd fight fair." The cadets stared at him, unsure if he was joking. He wasn't. A young cadet, Sira, asked, "Who are they?" Kane finally turned. The Korth Dominion. Predators. They don't fight for territory. They fight to erase species. The cadets shifted uncomfortably. Most had studied the Korth in theory, but few believed they'd ever face them directly. On the hologram, the red icons suddenly split into 3. Swarms. The aliens in the room gasped. Such a maneuver was unheard of in their doctrine. Splitting forces was considered suicide? Unless you didn't care how many you lost. Kane's expression hardened. They're testing your borders. Probing. For weakness. And you're about to show them all of it if you keep playing by your rulebook. Commander Thavris bristled. "We have fleet defenses, Kane. We'll repel them." Kane stepped closer, his voice low and cold. "No, you won't. Your fleet will form perfect lines, like you've done for centuries. The Korth will cut through those lines, bleed you dry, and burn your worlds. I've seen this before." The room fell silent. Even the senior instructors felt a chill. Then Kane said something that made them all uneasy. "I can stop them, but you won't like how." He zoomed in on the hologram, marking attack vectors that bent in strange, unpredictable curves. Not a single cadet recognized the patterns. They looked like chaos. But to Kane, they were a map of death. "This," Kane said, "is how Deathworlders fight. And if you want to survive the next 30 days, you're going to learn it." Outside the Academy's dome, the first Korth scouts were already entering the system. The alien cadets thought they were ready. They had studied Kane's methods for weeks, memorizing every strange tactic, every risky move. Now they stood inside the Academy's war simulation chamber, a vast, dark space where entire battles could be recreated in perfect realism. On the other side of the simulated battlefield, Kane's enemy force waited. Except this time, Kane wasn't playing as the humans. He was commanding an alien fleet, one designed to mirror the tactics the cadets already knew well. The training exercise began. The cadets moved with confidence, executing Kane's previous strategies. They thought they were winning. Then it started to fall apart. Out of nowhere, the enemy fleet vanished from their sensors. Communications went dead. One cadet shouted, "They're using stealth tech." Another replied, "We can counter it. Use the same moves Kane taught us." But when they tried, the moves failed. Explosions ripped through their simulated fleet, ships bursting apart one by one. Panic spread in the command room. The cadets couldn't even tell where the attacks were coming from. Kane's voice cut through the chaos, calm, cold, and almost disappointed. "Did you think my strategies were all I had?" He appeared on the holoscreen, standing at the center of the enemy bridge, looking at them like a hunter watching cornered prey. "In war, you never show your full hand. You gave me exactly what I wanted: predictability." Suddenly, the simulation revealed the truth. Kane's forces had never used stealth. They'd simply manipulated the cadets' sensors, feeding them false readings. While the cadets chased ghosts, Kane's fleet had slipped into the perfect attack positions. One by one, their ships were wiped out. The simulation ended in total defeat. The cadets stood in stunned silence. Some looked angry, others ashamed. Kane walked into the chamber, his boots echoing in the silence. "If you fight an enemy like you trained today," he said, "you won't just lose. You'll die without even knowing how." His words hit them harder than the defeat itself. And then, without smiling, Kane said, "Tomorrow we train for real." The next morning, the cadets woke to alarms, not the soft academy wake-up tones, but the sharp, urgent blare of a real battle alert. They scrambled into their uniforms and ran to the command hall, expecting another simulation. Instead, Kane was already there, standing beside a massive holomap of space. His face was unreadable. "We're leaving the station," he said. "No simulations, no safety protocols. You're going into a live combat zone." Murmurs rippled. To the cadets, one spoke up. "Sir, that's against Academy rules. We're not cleared for live operations." Kane's eyes locked on the cadet, cold as steel. "The enemy doesn't care about your clearance. And if you need rules to fight, you've already lost." They boarded a real patrol ship, smaller than a warship, but armed. The trip was silent, the tension thick, when the stars outside shifted, and the ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The cadets saw it, a graveyard of drifting wrecks. Dozens of alien ships floated in the void, torn apart, some still venting atmosphere into the black. One cadet whispered, "What happened here?" Kane answered without looking at them. "Pirates. Smarter than most. Dangerous. They've been raiding supply convoys for months. The council wants them gone. Today, you're going to hunt them." The cadets stared in disbelief. "You're sending us to fight pirates?" one asked. "No," Kane said. "I'm sending you to survive them." Suddenly, the ship's warning system screamed. 3 small blips appeared on the sensor grid, fast, darting between wrecks. The pirates were here. Kane didn't take the controls. He stepped back and crossed his arms. "This is your command now," he said. "I won't fire a single shot. If you can't figure out how to live, you'll die." The pirates closed in, firing bursts that shook the hull. The cadets scrambled into action, shouting orders, trying to remember everything they'd learned. But Kane hadn't told them one crucial detail. The pirates had already hacked the ship's main targeting systems. Every weapon fired missed. Panic set in. The enemy's boarding craft was closing fast. One cadet looked back at Kane. "Sir, what do we do?" Kane's reply was quiet, almost cruel. "Stop thinking like soldiers. Start thinking like humans." And that's when one of them, a young alien with sharp instincts, realized what Kane meant. They shut down the ship's power completely, making it look like a drifting wreck. The pirates took the bait, moving in close for an easy capture. Then, using only emergency power, the cadets fired the rear thrusters, spinning the ship into a deadly collision course. The pirates had no time to react. One of their ships shattered on impact. The rest fled. Silence fell in the cabin. The cadets were breathing hard, Hearts pounding. Kane finally stepped forward, looking at the wreckage drifting outside. "That," he said, "is the difference between passing and dying." But none of them noticed the faint flicker of light on Kane's wrist console, a secret transmission. Someone else had been watching this test. And they weren't from the academy.